So normally how do they do this?
Should be outside. Let's say outside.
Good morning, sir.
Good
morning, sir.
Thank God. And your family too. That's why you're good.
Your life.
Yes, that's right.
We don't say the first time. Quando o senso ni, tipo uma senso como que é o meu. Quando o senso camera, Let
me catch my.
That's right. Well, we're going to my ear. Actually, last time, the conference last month, it's okay. All four days, it's no, what is that? My issue, I'm sure. admit wọn. Mo admit wọn. No, mi ò admit. Wọ́n máa wọlé pẹ̀lú code. Okay. Instrument very well. Which one?
Mọ́tò la fún wa. 10,000. Wọ́n tó náà wò ó wà wò tó báyìí.
Ẹ ti rí ní kẹwàá. Àti wẹ̀. Ẹ pé wọ́n máa láti send ẹ̀ sí wọ́n ní wọ́n máa ń gbà púpà kan.
Kí wọ́n tó bẹ̀rẹ̀.
Àwọn táìmù máa lẹ́jà máa send fún àwọn yẹn máa approve ẹ̀. Ó dàbí máa ń ṣe sínú newspaper. Ó ní bọ́ọ̀ máa ń ṣe náà báyìí máa ṣe bí ẹ̀ sọ àti send ẹ̀ síbẹ̀.
So Michael máa wọ bíbá yín yẹn o.
Come on. How's it?
So you guys hijack again the
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that's that too, sir.
the thesis was okay.
Yes, sounds okay.
So which one is it for? The YouTube. So you have to pay for your service. You pay per minute or per hour. No, I'm a musician, so
You're a musician too. As in you love music. That means
and I can play.
oh, you can play? Oh, interesting. Wow.
I love the rhythm of the
You know, if you are somebody who loves music, irrespective of the language, you will still appreciate good music. Even if you don't hear what is being said, you will still appreciate it.
I have a keyboard that I bought when I was living in Nigeria, but he has the weight of 27 kg. So I don't know if I will carry it here. It's like a computer. It's very powerful. But it's heavy to carry to the airport. 27 kg. And the cover is a real iron and everything. So I have to buy it back with the tire so we can just.
So you still have your things in Liberia then?
No, it was a furnished apartment, so I don't have really things there, but still have connection, contact there, maybe bank account. So it's not a big. I mean, it's not a big place. You were there before, right? It was not a big. It's not a big place. No, it's in Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah, I've been to Cote d'Ivoire.
It's just like Nigeria, you have one big boulevard. Like carrying things in the airport. One big boulevard, and you have small avenues. It's not a big place. There are some other areas that I've never been there. Even out of Monrovia, I was what was the Nigeria? I don't understand the leadership. But anyway, I understand, and most of the money they used to gather, they used to send it to the US. US because for the story they have the first Liberian that was president and everything. They came from the slavery, so they still have the family members in US. So they used to acquire estates in US, so they can send their money there. So when it's like this, you will not take time to develop your own country. They have 174 years of independence.
174.
Yeah. It's the oldest country.
Is it like that?
Yes. It's the oldest African country. This thing is exactly what I explained to you. They used to send the money in the US.
Huh?
Okay, so come
Yeah,
on.
yeah, I think this is up here.
Not.
Àwọn òkú ni, tẹ́lẹ̀ òkú. Is that one?
No, there's one beside.
It's been covered already.
No, it's been
Kini, you're Kini, you won't move. What you move? Are you over?
No, go move. Move one here. So you gotta be careful.
I think I will do myself. Well, if you can strengthen and
Because they need shield. Where can I get shield?
Tell you at me now. Charge money. Okay, put your foot. Put your foot. Over one let me know I'm out of food. Kini ìtajà yẹn kọ́ ṣe fún táwọn. No, kò ní ìfò. Ká máa bẹ̀rẹ̀. Èmi kan pa lọ́fíìsì. Táwọn ọ̀rẹ́ táwọn àwádé ní sísè. The money is better, sir. wá jókòó.
Ìmọ̀ àwọn oníkàwé ìgbìyànjú pé ń kà wá lọ́wọ́ rẹ̀.
Bẹ́ẹ̀.
Wọ́n tún lọ sí ayọ̀. Everyone, good morning. I wanted to ask if you want to have a picture. The sensor. Well, who removed the sensor? But I don't buy into that story. A new printer. We didn't give it out to anybody. Nobody. Only me and most bound have looked at that printer. You get it? If somebody now come and tell you that sensor is missing, who remove it? He wants to make money, forget that thing. I don't want to agree. We should have just sent that printer to HBO. Honestly. Now that he's saying that sensor, how sure am I that he's not the one even removing the sensor? Who wants to remove sensor? I don't buy this kind of. How can I go and say that to who? The question they will ask me is that who removed the sensor? Onígbé sensor kan wà tí ó sì bẹ̀.
Libretan.
Mo ní ta ló yọ.
Ta ló yọ sẹ́sọ̀ tó sí?
Ṣé kó lọ bí òun ló máa yọ? Kó lọ bí òun ló ń ṣe?
Sẹ́sọ̀ wo ni ọ̀yọ́ mẹ́? Sẹ́sọ̀ wo ni ọ̀yọ́?
Àwọn olóyìn ta fẹ́ ta wọ̀. Mo ní kó lọ pa fẹ́ta mi lọ́wọ́ ni. Mo máa kó fẹ́ ṣe.
Ó gbé lọ sí ṣe. Sẹ́sọ̀ wo ni ọ̀yọ́ mẹ́? A lè sọ sẹ́sọ̀ kan yìí. Sẹ́sọ̀. So sẹ́sọ̀ ló jẹ́ bó ṣù òdì nìyẹn.
That's what I said, looking at it.
Tolu ti gbà. Tolu ní.
So you bring them on Àwọn ọmọ ọmọ nìkejì.
Ẹ̀yà kan gbà. Ẹ Tolú kó sọ, Tolú nù. Tolú nì.
Ìlú wọ̀ láwọn ilé àkọ́lọ̀ ni.
Gbọ́dọ̀ ni.
Ok, ẹ lè fi.
Ó ní kọ́lọ̀ mi.
Ẹ̀mú ní kọ́lọ̀ mi àwọn. Ọjọ́ oṣù kọ́lọ̀ mi.
But brown náà ni.
Ṣé ẹ̀bùrà náà ẹ̀mú méjì? Ọ́fíìsì.
Ìyẹn kọ́.
Ó ní ẹyọ kan. Ó ní olókùn bọ́ọ̀bù kan. Ẹ̀dí ìgbà ìkan tó dúdú jù náà. Àbújọ sí làwọn sọ́ọ̀tì rẹ̀. Ẹ̀wọ̀n program àwọn pípé. White card méjì kan wà láti.
Ọmọ àwọn tó lè jẹ́.
Wọ́n ti sọ lánàá.
Ọmọ rẹ̀ sọ.
Ọ̀dà pé wọ́n ẹ̀rọ ṣẹ̀ṣọ̀.
Ṣé àwọn akàdé mọ̀?
Wọ́n mọ̀ gẹ́ẹ̀ Màríà yìí. Tó bá láti dùbà yìí.
Wọ́n á kàdé.
Pé ọjọ́ pé
Obìnrin náà.
ọkùnrin tí wọ́n gbọ́ ẹ̀rọ ṣẹ̀ṣọ̀ ló kó wọlé kọ́. Wọ́n ní ṣé ìgbọ́dọ̀ náà. So, this was a thing, the ICH was a level. So, the government put it out. Most people.
Maria ẹ̀ ọ̀nà tó dàbí yorùbá yẹ́sù pàmì ìjọba
In Nigeria,
ọdún dàbí lẹ́yìn.
picture of it. I'll make it right now. I'll see you.
Kí ni ẹsẹ̀ ti bí wọ́n sí lè lọ?
What did you slot in? There are 22 where you want it. I will get 22. Fake house. Fake house. Fake house. Lower budget July. Fake house. So on March 31, I'm like house. As a topic possible for one. I like that in my meeting. But I was one point came here. Come out this one. We are suspects. We are suspects. Everybody is suspect. So Maria is tapping. Berian no, belum tahu kamu mau tinggal. Segini, kamu saya ada segini sudah. Kamu nyari saya. Terus dia beli. Mau ini, terus mau beli mereka. Banyak mereka. Beli mobil yang mereka. Sudah umur, bagus pun itu. So, what did they go looking for you? I'm very used to it. Your body down with the other. It's the right kind. I'm not just eating your competence. I'm not suspecting. They told me, don't give anything. Why interested about it? Why interested?
ẹnu ẹkùn ọgbà tó lù ti ní.
We'll review internally and come back to you. We will review internally. We'll review it at this current expectation and everything else together.
Sí, absolutamente. amma abin da za a yi kawai ya ban san ya kake ganin to za a yi ka yi haƙuri don Allah ne za mu yi shi a hankali kafin mu samu abin da kyau da ya gode da Allah ka yi haƙuri so wata ba da su bi shi a hankali har kuma wata Yes, this time. Thank you very much.
I'm paying increase this thing again. Is that one?
Oh, okay.
Increase it.
Maybe it's self-regulated. You guys.
Sorry, wait,
Yes, yeah.
downstairs. Huh? Downstairs. Yes.
No, follow. So?
They will be finding in the morning.
Good morning. How are you? Welcome, man. Good to see you. Good morning. How are you? Good morning. How are you? Yes. Should make it up. Crazy. Crazy here.
Microphone is not working. I'll meet them now.
Distinguished shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, I would like us to start with the prayers. Can I call on someone to volunteer and pray for us? Yes, please.
Father and our God, we thank you this morning. We bless you. We exalt you for your faithfulness. We thank you for bringing us together this day to hold this AGM of our esteemed company, Sunu Assurance Nigeria PLC. Father, we pray that you will take preeminence as we begin the deliberations in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Daddy. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Distinguished shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to the 34th Annual General Meeting of Sunu Assurances Nigeria PLC. The quorum required for this meeting is 25 members present in person or by proxy. and the company secretary has informed me that we have the required quorum to commence the meeting. The time now is 10:08 a.m. Therefore, I have great pleasure in declaring this meeting open. I would like to introduce our board of directors. I'll start by introducing your humble servant, the chairman, Kyari Abubakar, myself, and on my right, we have our managing director, Samuel of Budu, and to his right, we have our executive director, Adeleke Hassan, and logged on Zoom, we have Mr. Karim Frank Dion, Mr. Mohamed Ba, Mr. Philip Aivo, Ms. Taisia Ajala, thank you. And I would also like to introduce members of our audit committee, the ones representing our esteemed shareholders, Mr. Samuel Adedoyin, Mr. Olayinka Oniwande, Oba Ajadi Olariwaju. I would also like to introduce our external auditors, Joshua Hansa and Oyelade Olatunji. The company's registrars, Crescent Registrars, represented by Mrs. Mercy Onyejiwa. Representatives of our regulatory authorities, those include the National Insurance Commission, represented by Mr. Aliu Isiaku, the Nigerian Exchange Limited, NGX, represented by Mrs. Brenda Duke, the Securities and Exchange Commission, represented by Mr. Soji Dehimbo, and DCSL, Consultant on Board Evaluation, DCSL Corporate Services Limited, represented by Mr. Ibrahim Alakwe. And the approved proxies, one, Mr. Nona Awo, representing shareholders, Mr. Tajuddin, Mr. Oludewa, Mrs. Oludewa Edodo Thorpe. Before I call the secretary to read the notice convening this meeting, I wish to inform all members that the register of directors holding is available for inspection during the meeting in accordance with section 3018 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, LFN 2020. I now call the secretary to read the notice convening the meeting.
Good morning. Notice of the 34th Annual General Meeting of members of Sunu Assurances Nigeria PLC. Notice is hereby given that the 34th Annual General Meeting of members of Sunu Assurances Nigeria PLC, the company, opened by proxy on Friday, 30th July 2021 at 10 a.m. at plot 1196 Bishop Oluwole Street off Akinade Street, Victoria Island, Lagos State, for the purpose of considering and if deemed fit to pass and approve with or without modification the ordinary and special resolutions set out hereunder in the manner required by the company's Memorandum and Articles of Association, the MEMAS, the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap C20, Laws of the Federation 2004, now Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, and the listing rules of the Nigerian Stock Exchange Limited, now the Nigerian Exchange Limited. Ordinary resolutions. Presentation of the consolidated audited financial statements of the company and its subsidiaries as approved by the Board of Directors of the company, together with the reports of the directors, audit committee, and external auditors of the company for the year ended 31st December 2020. 2. Re-election by way of separate resolutions of the following persons who will retire as non-executive directors by rotation at the annual general meeting in accordance with clause 92 of the company's memorandum and articles. A. We have Mr. Olaniwaju Ogunbanjo. B. Mr. Ibikune Balogun. And C. Mr. Philip Ayu. 3. Appointment of the firm of SIAO Partners as the company's external auditors for 2021 financial year. 4. Authority to the board to fix the remuneration of the external auditors for 2021 financial year. 5. Election of members of the company's audit committee to office until the end of the next AGM. 6. Disclosure of the remuneration of managers of the company in compliance with the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. Special resolution. Item 7. Approval of the remuneration of directors of the company for 2021 financial year. Note. Practice. In view of the government directive on physical social distancing and restriction on the maximum number of people in every gathering due to COVID-19 pandemic, attendance shall be only by proxy. A member entitled to attend and vote at the annual general meeting is advised to appoint any proxy listed below to attend and vote on his or her behalf. We have Mr. Kerry Buta, the chairman. We have Mr. Samuel Ugodu, the managing director CEO. Chief Matthew Akinlade, the shareholder, who is being represented by Mr. Khalid Olawi. We have Mr. Norman Powell, the shareholder, and we have Mrs. Oludewa Edorito, the shareholder. To be valid, a proxy form must be completed and duly stamped by the Commissioner of Stamp Duty and emailed to info@crescentregistrars.com or deposited to the registrar's office of the company's registrar, Crescent Registrars Limited, at 23 Olusoju Ijowu Street, Irupeju, Lagos, Nigeria, not less than 48 hours before the time of the holding of the meeting. All instruments of proxies shall be at the company's expense. Resolution 2. Closure of register of members and transfer of votes. The register of members and transfer of votes of the company will be closed from Friday 16th July to Friday 30th July 2021, both dates inclusive, to enable the shareholders to make necessary preparations for the annual general meeting. Item 3. Unclaimed dividend warrants. Members are hereby informed that some dividend warrants were returned to the registrars as unclaimed, while some have either been presented for payment nor returned to the registrars for validation. Affected members are by this notice advised to contact the registrars for resolution of such matters. 10.4. Audit Committee. In accordance with Section 3595, now Section Any member may nominate another member for appointment to the audit committee. Such nomination shall be in writing and delivered to the company secretary at least 21 days before the annual general meeting. Nomination shall be in line with the requirements of the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance 2018. And 5. Re-election of directors. In accordance with the provisions of the company's members, Mr. Olariwaju Ogunbanjo, Mr. Idikule Balogun, and Mr. Philip Ayibo will retire by rotation as non-executive directors, and being eligible have indicated their intention to be re-elected. In this provision will be amended in the course of the meeting. Item 6. Members' right to ask questions. Members reserve the right to ask questions at the annual general meeting. Members may also submit their questions prior to the meeting in writing to the company, in line with Rule 1912C of the listing rules of the Nigerian Stock Exchange Limited. Such questions must be addressed to the company secretary by electronic mail at nigeria@sunu-group.com, not later than 7 days before the date of the annual general meeting. Item 7. Biographical details of directors. Biographical details of all directors, including those standing for re-election, are provided in the annual report and on the company's website. Item 8. The website. Copy of this notice and other information relating to this meeting can be found on the company's website, www.sunu-group.com. The notice is dated Monday, 20th of June, 2021. By the order of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Company Secretary. The chairman's statement is from page 10 to 15 of the 2020 annual report and account, which have already been circulated. We shall therefore take the statement as read, with your permission, in order to give sufficient time to attend to other business at this meeting. I now call upon the representative of the external auditors, SIAO Partners, to read the report of the external auditors, which have been circulated to members with the accounts for the year ended 31st December 2020. For reference, it's page 50 to 54. Thank you.
The chairman, other directors, the regulators, the shareholders, good morning. My name is Joshua Anson, and beside me on my left is my colleague, Mr. Tunji Kuyalabi. We are representing SIAO. SIAO Chartered Accountants are the auditors that were selected to audit the financial statements of Sunu Assurances PLC for the year ended 31st of December 2020. So we are here to render the report. The report is on pages 50 to 54. Pages 50 to 54 is the independent auditor's report. I will pray in audience, in permission of shareholders and others present, please. And if I could be allowed to take the first 3 paragraphs and then the last paragraph, or else then I will go ahead to take the whole report. Please, if the permission is granted, is given.
Yes, I'm present.
Thank you so much, sirs. So So I will read on page 50. Independent auditors report to the shareholders of Sunu Assurances PLC, Nigeria PLC. Report on the audit of the consolidated financial statements for the year ended 31st of December 2020. Opinion. We have audited the consolidated financial statements of Sunu Assurances Nigeria PLC, the company, and the subsidiaries, all together the group, which comprise the consolidated statement of financial position as at 31st of December 2020, the consolidated statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, a consolidated statement of changes in equity, and consolidated statement of cash flows for the year then ended, and the notes to the consolidated financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory notes. In our opinion, the consolidated financial statements give a true and fair view of the consolidated financial position of Sunu Assurances Nigeria PLC and its subsidiaries as at 31st of December 2020, and of the consolidated financial performance and consolidated cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS, applicable and in the manner required by the Financial Reporting Council Act 2011, Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap C20, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 as amended, Insurance Act, Cap 17, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, the Investments and Securities Act 2007, and the relevant NICOM circulars. Basis for opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with the International Standards on Auditing, ISAs. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the consolidated financial statements section of our reports. We are independent of the group in accordance with the International Ethics Standards Board for Accountants Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, that's the ISBA code, and we have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the ISBA code. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. Please turn to page 54. Report on other legal requirements. Contravention of laws and regulations. There was no contravention of any law and regulations during the year under review. B. Compliance with FRC guidelines for reporting the effects of COVID-19 on business operations. The group complied with the guidelines provided by the Financial Reporting Council, FRC, for reporting the impact of COVID-19 on its operations. Also, we confirm that we have obtained sufficient and appropriate audit evidence regarding going concern applicability. We conclude, based on the audit evidence obtained up to the date of our auditor's report, that no material uncertainty exists about the group's ability to continue as a going concern. C. Compliance with the requirements of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2004 as amended, and the Insurance Act 2003. The Companies and Allied Matters Act and Nigerian Insurance Act require that in carrying out our audit, we consider and report to you on the following matters. We confirm, 1, we have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of the audit. 2, in our opinion, proper books of accounts have been kept by the group so far as appears from our examination of those books. 3, the group's statement of financial position and its statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of accounts. This report is signed by Joshua Ansa, the engagement partner, on behalf of SIA, and it is dated 23rd of March 2021. Thank you so much.
I now call upon the chairman of the audit committee to read the report of the audit committee, which had been circulated to members with the accounts for the year ended 31st December 2020.
Thank you, our chairman. The chairman, board of directors of Sunu Assurance Nigeria PLC, members of the board, members of the management and staff of our company, regulatory authorities hereby present, members of the press, distinguished fellow shareholders. I am reading the report of the audit committee for the year ended 31st December 2020 in respect of our company, Sunu Assurances Nigeria PLC, and its subsidiary companies. In accordance with the provision of Section 359, subsection 6 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap 620, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, we have reviewed the audited financial statements of the company and its subsidiaries for the year ended 31st December 2020 and report as follows. 1. The audit committee met in exercise of its subsidiary responsibilities in accordance with Section 359, subsection 6 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap 620, the laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004. 2. We have examined the auditor's report and findings and recommendations and management matters. We are satisfied with the management responses thereof. 3. The accounting and reporting policies of the company and its subsidiaries are consistent with legal requirements and are great ethical practices. 4. The company and its subsidiaries maintain effective systems of accounting and internal controls during the year. Number 5, we are satisfied that the management is aggressively pursuing the goals and objectives of the company and its subsidiaries. This report was signed on 22nd March 2021 on behalf of the members of the audit committee by me, Samuel Adedoyin, FCA. Other members of the audit committee are Mr. Yinka Oliwide, representing the shareholders, His Royal Highness Ọba Yetuni Olariwaju, representing the shareholder, Mr. Ibekunle Balogun, representing members of the board, Mr. Olariwaju Ogunbanjo, representing members of the board, and Mr. Mohammed Ba, representing members of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, Audit Committee. The next item is the presentation of the report of the board evaluation. I hereby invite the representative of the external consultant on board evaluation to read the report of the board evaluation in line with NCCG 2018. NICOM Corporate Governance Guideline 2021 and the Securities and Exchange Corporate Governance Guidelines 2020.
Good morning, Chairman, Directors, and distinguished shareholders. My name is Ibrahim Alagbe. I'll be reading our report from page 23 of the annual report. Report of Corporate Governance Compliance Audit. We are pleased to submit our report on corporate governance and compliance audit conducted on Sunu Assurances Nigerian PLC. This report is a product of a detailed review of various governance documents made available to us in the course of the review. The corporate governance audit, as required by Principle 15.1 of the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance 2018, was conducted to identify gaps and areas requiring improvement in the corporate governance processes and policies in place at Sunu Assurances Nigerian PLC, and to propose possible remedies to ensure that the company is indeed up to date with the expectations of the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance. The report also contains our review of the company's compliance with other relevant legislation, regulations, and best practices. Our responsibility is to reach a conclusion on the extent of the company's compliance with statutory provisions and regulatory requirements, based on what carried out within the scope of our engagement. In carrying out our review, we have relied on the representation made by representatives of the company and on the document provided for our review. Following our review, we note and commend the company's efforts, which is evident in the significant compliance with corporate governance and general regulatory requirements observed in the course of our review. We have identified some areas that require improvement and provided support with respect to bridging some of the identified gaps. We are grateful for the opportunity to be of service to the company and look forward to working with you in the future. Please accept assurances of our highest regards and yours gracefully, standing for this service of corporate services limited, steady and the director. Thank you.
Thank you. As copies of the report and accounts have already been circulated, I formally lay before the meeting the audited, consolidated financial statements as at 31st December 2020, together with the reports of the auditors and directors thereon. I, Managing Director, CEO, and other members of the board would be pleased to answer any questions which you may have on the report and accounts before we proceed. Yes, sir.
Other members of the board, very distinguished shareholders, and regulators here present. My name is Sunu. Let me start on the note of where the last speaker, or where the last officer ended. I was beginning to think that the corporate governance assessment was looking like a love letter. So I want to thank BC for writing Sunu a love letter. Having said that, Mr. Chairman, basically we are highlighting largely areas that will require, areas that I think will be requiring improvement. I'm choosing for that because when you buy shares, what you basically find is that you're buying information. And if information are not put in proper order, it also begins to be difficult for people to be able to make informed decisions when it comes to the company shares. First, on page 7, I'll be hoping that going forward, your share data information will have been adjusted. Because what you have there, for instance, in terms of your share price, says your share price appreciated by 400%. I don't think that is correct. Because if you are adjusted for the reconstruction, what you will have found is that investors have lost over 50% of their investment in the company. So that information will not be correct. So I'm hoping that going forward, that will be adjusted as well. If you then go to page 8, there you have officers and organizations that provide service to the company. You will find the name of the registrar and they have an address. Chairman, if I live in Maiduguri and I have unclaimed dividend, what that is saying is that last year I have to travel down to Lagos to get that sorted. So I'll be hoping that going forward, every shareholder related service provider will provide their phone number so that people can read them with less stress. Because this itself is one of the reasons why unclaimed dividends got to the level that it got to, and government started poking its eyes, and now they're where we are. And I think the same thing applies on page 9. If we have branches, I'm sure those branches have telephone numbers. So if you also provide the address and you provide phone numbers, that itself may also help in people reaching us. Because for me, one of your biggest marketing instruments happens to be your annual account. And if small information are ignored, then you also ignore your ability to also get business. But in terms of our bankers on the same page 9, I'm not sure there is a bank called Diamond Bank in 2020. I'm also not sure there is a bank called Sky Bank. So I don't know where you got your own from. Are they from Ivory Coast or they are from Southern Sudan? It's important that we know, so that we know how. Having said that, I will be referring to what you have on page 14, and that has to do with the chairman's statement. You said the recapitalization exercise, the second phase, as far as the company is concerned, will commence in July and end in September. Was there? We didn't find the referee to officiate the match, or what happened? Because July is ended, and I don't think I've heard anything as to what you're doing. Because I also know that for the regulators, fundraising exercise is also tied to your annual accounts not being obsolete. And I think the way we are now, we begin to run the challenge of obsolescence in terms of what you can do. So what is the position? Because like I said, when people buy shares, they are buying information. And if you don't provide information in a manner that helps them to understand, then it also becomes a challenge. The second aspect that has to do with recapitalization that I also want to talk about has to do with the Woodlow repayment. First, some of us are very happy that the noise that some persons made, the Woodlow is cheap, the interest is low. Some of you have then realized that some of us were right when we fought that you should not go near the Woodlow. And what some of us called it then was poison. No, don't mind Nona, it's too critical. I'm sure you just managed to survive because the poison will have killed you. We must also thank goodness, that we are able to get anti-poison remedy in somebody coming to build us out. But that building itself has its own poison, and that's the poison that I want you to address. So we don't do like we did before and said it doesn't matter. What is the implication for the float as far as the company share is concerned? Because when all of this deposit for shares is fully converted, the future changes. Okay, so what is the implication, and what are you hoping to do in terms of remedying that new position that I also call poison? So what are you hoping to do? And the reason that all of this is important is that nobody is going to make any attempt to buy in. When I mean nobody, any serious investor will not approach you if it's not certain as to what you want to do. So I hope that all of that will be put on the table so I can understand this. I am also interested in our subsidiary. I wouldn't call the hotel a subsidiary because what we have is a 25-year arrangement. But even this account on page 19 and from page 1 to the last page is not indicating how many years that you have run that arrangement. Again, because people who are buying your share price today are buying for tomorrow's performance. And tomorrow's performance will also include where you are likely to make money from. Okay, so how many years has it gone? Because if you ask me, looking at what I find on page 85 and 129, that hotel is a loss making. So it's also an additional pressure. It puts additional pressure. It's a drag on our bottom line. So what is that we're likely to do differently? Are we going to import people from other countries to come and stay in the building so they can use the hotel and that way we make money? Or what are the options on the table? Because we need to understand it. Okay? If you look at the 2 years position, basically losses. 3 years position, losses. So what is it that we're doing differently? By the way, I'm also told in school that not all businesses are good business. Okay, so if we have a bad business, I think we should believe it. So this is a challenge. But I'll be interested as to what the board is doing in this regard. Probably one of the things that I also think that needs to be addressed going forward. Unfortunately, I said what you had was a love letter. Because he then referred us back to the company as to, oh, they have told you what they saw. I am not sure that they told you that what you have now, as indicated on page 26 and page 156 to 158, is that you only have 2 independent directors, and the law says you should have 3. So what are you doing in that regard? We have also not addressed the issue of minority representative. And I know that one of the answers that the chairman will be tempted to give, it doesn't matter who you are as long as the company is doing well. One would have also expected that the foreign partner would have left their money without being represented. So it's something that you must look at when you're also going forward in terms of the full complement of independent. I will not be fair if I don't talk or say anything about our investment income. Because even when you have positive underwriting profits and your investment income is also not matching how much you make in terms of underwriting, it's like you playing a football match with half team. You are expected to have 11 players and you bring only 6, which means even before the match started, you are giving 5 members of your team red cards, and there is no way you are going to win that match. Even if all you have in your team are Ronaldo's and Messi, you will never win that match. So, issue of investment and investment income is extremely important for me. So in that regard, I will be, again, just like we saw with the bank, there is no investment called WAPO. There is none. Answer. Yourself and your team, please take note. There is no company called African Prudential Registrar. None. There is no company called Rapid Insurance. There is no company called UBA Capital. They may look minor, but they speak volume as to, because if a man has changed his name, and then say, sorry, I don't recognize your change of name, and then there's something wrong with the person who has refused to understand the change in name. But much more important, if you look at page 84, 85, page 125, 126, and page 150, I think that there is need for some review as to what our investment policies are. More importantly, now that the rates, especially for federal government bonds, though moving up gradually, but treasury bills have basically been struggling. We're not sure which direction it's going to go. Even with the dollar making nonsense of the currency called naira, I don't know how. Okay, so there's a major need for you to look as to what our investments are. And the reason I say that is that if you then go to page 129 and page 150, and you look at the contribution of subsidiaries to our bottom line, move from 52 million to 56.3. And I don't think that we're probably getting the best from the subsidiary. So I'm also interested as to, which again is something that the love letter wouldn't have talked about. What is the layering in terms of directorship between the company, the group, and the subsidiary? Because that itself, for me, is one major area that very many insurance companies and very many companies who are even being local and not being truthful to Nigerian investors. So I'll be hoping that going forward, you will not just say, oh, Mr. Edward is heading towards Daura. You should tell us whether he also has a link in Aba before getting to Daura. That way, the picture will be detailed, but we need to do a little more as to what our subsidiaries are doing. Let me close on the note of what you have on page 4. I'm not too certain that what you should be talking about is appointment of an auditor. Because the auditor that say you are appointing is the one who is currently on duty. Okay? I'm not sure what amendment says, but I don't think it is necessary. Now that the regulator also have a time frame by which the auditor can stay on. And so I will be hoping that going forward, Company Secretary, what we should be talking about is approval of fee for the auditors, not appointment, except you are bringing in brand new to take over from an existing auditor. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, I will want some clarification as to what we have done. Because if you look at page 23, one of the things that so let me take page okay, let me take page 23 before page 134. On page 23, the external assessor talked about area of improvement that they have told you. Since they didn't tell us, and we don't want to carry hate speech or carry rumor, which of the areas have you identified that is low hanging and you are beginning to address? Because that way you will be also be in tune as to what you are doing rather than the blanket report that we read. And the last one that I want the auditors and the board to also throw some light on. I find on page 134 that we had a fine of 1.42 million naira from NICOM. Part of it is being paid. Dollars, by the way, not naira. Yes, and I'm wondering if NICOM wants the growth of this industry, why will you? That itself will take away all that you probably make in how many? It doesn't make sense. Even if you don't use sledgehammer and kill fly. It's not fair. Because this is the same NICOM that says go and recapitalize. And before you get to the field to play the match of recapitalization, they have opened the stadium for other people to come and watch the match. I can't understand. Sometimes, and unfortunately for us, with due respect, before they get appointed to those positions, they tell you all the things that the private sector is suffering from. When they get in there, I don't know whether it's government bug. They get bugged so they lose their senses. For me, it doesn't make economic sense for you to find what is the profit that you made from that transaction, even if you made a mistake. Then you're going to pay a fine of $1.42 million. Another the war on your neck. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, ma'am.
Distinguished Chairman and board members, my fellow distinguished shareholders and members of representing your executive authorities, my name is Sunu, and I'm the National Secretary of the National Coordinating Committee of the Shareholders Association. Mr. Chairman, I commend the board and the management for all the steps that have been taken so far to revamp the fortunes of our company. I also commend the audit committee for all the work that has been done. I commend the board and management for the capitalization exercise, the increase in the shareholders' funds, 6.6 million. I also commend our foreign partners, Sunu Assurance, and for settling the bondholders and extinguishing the options, thereby removing the albatross that was around our company's neck. I align myself also with the comments of Mr. Nana concerning the question regarding the percentage, what happened of the free floats of shares at the end of the talk. Mr. Chairman, if we open to page 7 of this report, we will see that a lot of the indices, maybe not all, but a lot of it are positive, considering that we are coming from a loss position from last year's. But I have a few suggestions to make, which I think may help us. If we look at note 8 on page 126 and note 18 on page 134, page 126, we'll see from note 18 that note 8, sorry, trade receivables. I begin to wonder now, insurance business is almost like a cash and carry business. Why are we having trade receivables, insurance receivables, and all that, trade receivables in insurance business? That is almost like a cash and carry business. At the same time, I note in page 134, note 18, that it appears that we have not been doing what we should be doing in meeting some of our obligations. If you look at reinsurance and co-insurance payable, I'm actually surprised to see that there. So with that, one is not surprised to see what is happening in, if you look at page 120. Page 120, where we find out that the amount we were able to recover from the reinsurer was just about 50% of the claims. I begin to wonder that, is it because we're not able to fulfill our obligations? That is why we're not able to move that figure to at least 70%. We should be able to recover at least 70% of insurance claim from our reinsurance. And I think that that 70% is not a bad figure. Mr. Chairman, I also note from page 120. I looked at the revenues from the segment. I look at the segment reporting, and I note the revenues, income from non-insurance subsidiaries. I note that it was an improvement from last year, and I know it can still improve. I am particular about the asset management arm of the business. I know as a fact that asset management is a gold mine. Some years ago, there was one of the financial institutions, one of the banks, who had some problems and they didn't make much money in their intermediation business, but they pay dividend from the returns from the asset management business. So with that, I know that there's a lot of mileage you can go in asset management. I know that we just do finance leases. I think we can expand from finance leases in the asset management business, and that would help us more. Mr. Abu has already talked about the penalty that we paid in note 19.3. I would just add that we have been around for a long time, since 1984. And considering that this company has been around for a long time, there are some infractions that should be beyond our company. And we should not unnecessarily give the regulatory authorities a chance to make money off us by paying penalty. I note page 142, where we have other operating expenses. I'm wondering why there's an increase in professional fees and other administrative expenses in a year where many employees work from home. I think then I looked at you have 9 directors, and of the 9 directors, there's only 1 woman. You have not even met the affirmative action for women, says which 35%. I think you need to do something there. Then I note from the profile of the directors that Mr. Philip Ayibo is he's said to be to have held various positions in Coca-Cola Company, and that he is currently providing strategic direction to senior management teams of Coca-Cola Company in Ghana. I imagine, is he a staff of Coca-Cola Company, and why is he on the board? Who is he representing on the board? Is it Coca-Cola Company? Because when I looked at the list of shareholders on page 20, I can't see Coca-Cola Company there. So I was kind of wondering, what would a staff of Coca-Cola Company be doing on our board? It might not be, maybe it's an elementary question, but I think I need to know the answer. Finally, most of the references to the Companies and Allied Matters Act in this report is still referring to 2004. Knowing that this report will go beyond Nigeria, I think that and many of the errors that have been pointed out by Mr. Awu, I think we should be more circumspect and when we are producing our reports, so that we don't have such errors. I am pleased that when the Company Secretary was reading the notice of meeting, she did mention in the where there was the 2004 Company Allied Matters Act. He mentioned there that now 2020. So I commend you, Company Secretary, for remembering this month. Yes, for doing that. But please, people who are going to be seeing it, they didn't hear you. They won't be hearing that you have said now 2020. So there is a need for us to correct all the errors in this report. I thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the opportunity. I will just add too before then that there's a lot of future for insurance in Nigeria. We should take advantage of it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
Co-shareholders, the audit committee, local authorities, and my co-shareholders. My name is Sakabita, the President in the Stamach Makulade. Standing on the sensitive protocol, firstly, the first two speakers have dealt with the report excessively, and we need to give the management some little shareholder support in the area of corporate governance. Having a look at the report, at least the company did very well in corporate governance. Most of our meetings, both the committee and the board meetings, were effectively attended by the members of those committees. Then I want to call attention of our auditors to one particular serious issue. In the report, look at page 54. When I'm referring to contravention of law regulations, what I mean was that there was no contraventions of law. But in the reports, you still take some amount of money, which my co-speakers are referring to. So I will employ the auditors to please let us, because it is an opinion. So if the opinion is being questionable, at least something is wrong somewhere. So our auditors should please, at least let us use our ego eyes in our reports when we are doing our work. Then secondly, the issue of the results that Mr. Namo made mention. I know there was a meeting we had in Jebu before shifting our meeting to Lagos. We were informed then that there's a pattern between Sunu, then equity insurance with the state government. Mr. Chairman, sir, please, I want us to give us what is the relationship now, because like the something is giving a lot of losses year in, year out. So what is the connection between Sunu presently and the then of the state government? Because if there is a relationship between us and the state, at least the hotels were giving us some little still, not much. So I want the chairman to please address the issue. Then the other I want to make mention is the issue of our non-life insurance. I believe it should be one of the areas we need to make more money of. Although the company have done some little adjustment compared to 2019 and 2020. I want to employ the management to please improve on that adjustment. It's like 2019, it's like you get nothing from non-life. For 2020, there's a little thing coming up from there. So I want the management to still look at that and put more that you can get more things from the non-life. When you look at our report in 2019, it's like what happened to non-life eroded what healthcare and life management give us a returns to the company. But fortunately for us, in 2020, we were at least able to do some adjustments to bring it back to normal. So I want us to do more on that. And then lastly is on our advertisements. And like we do move around and see a lot of insurance companies, their billboards and whatever. But I do fasten around. What we're going to look into this, I think, is part of, improving or enhancing Sunu's profit. Because it's what I know that I patronize, what I know I won't patronize. So I'm going to look at that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments? In the absence, I will attempt to answer as many questions that I can possibly do, and then hand over to the CEO to do the rest. That's the privilege of chairman. Both Mr. Nona Awo and Madam have highlighted quite a number of errors in the document. And this is a document that represents who we are and our own values and objectives and aspirations. And we should not be seen to be not even being in consonant with what we claim to stand for. And therefore, I would make sure that we do not repeat those simple errors and also the opportunities that the annual report presents for us to advertise not only our branches but also some of our external partners like the registrars. So what I would ask management to do is, going forward, all our branches must have not only their addresses but their phone numbers as well as email addresses. That way people can contact them through by either calling their numbers or by sending them emails. And I think the same goes for all our partners, including the registrars, just in case somebody from my degree wants to check on their claimed dividends. Mr. Nona and I go a long way. Yes. Now, let me go through quite a number of things. It's really a lot of stuff. I normally go very strongly with corporate governance, so even though the questions are all over, I would start with something that to me is very fundamental and dear and near to my heart, which is corporate governance. Number one is the board representation. Indeed, one of the DCSL report, the very first item for areas of improvement was lack of diversity, particularly that of women on the board. And we have taken note of that, and we would definitely do something about that. That's one. I think there has also been a talk about the independent and exec directors. We're going to address that as well as the minority representation, which had also been highlighted. I think all of those things have been mentioned at the presentation and at the last board meeting, which was yesterday. In fact, some of the questions raised is like some of you are eavesdropping on our board meetings. Even though I am not supposed to mention certain things, but I am definitely going to mention this particular one. The lady to my left is our new company secretary. She got appointed and approved by the board yesterday, and subsequently promoted. Thank you, Jerry. I would also, so those are some of the pieces on the board related things. In fact, DCSL has a large chunk of things. I don't know if it is included in the annual accounts, but it's something that we are working towards accomplishing. And to me, it's good to have to look into the mirror every day as officers of this company, and to ensure that we constantly aspire to meet not only regulatory requirements but exceed them. And that is one of the key things that we truly strongly believe in. And I know BC very well, of DCSL. She can be motherly in some instances, but she's usually tough when she's delivering the message to you. So I'm glad that a shareholder is calling it love letter, but when she's in the boardroom, it doesn't sound like she's giving us any love. It may be motherly love, you know. The other thing is that, so all of those information, we really need, thank you for the feedback, and we would ensure that we keep up to it. Now, update on recapitalization. I would like to first state that the matter has gone to court. So it's sub judice. And therefore, with the plan you've seen in the communication is an old information that we had, which we had actually was presented to the board at about 2 board meetings ago, and it was actually had not been altered. But as of yesterday, we also got updated at the board by management that even the requirement by NICOM for us to file the recapitalization strategy on a monthly basis, because of the court matter, NICOM is not even accepting those updates. Therefore, NICOM as a regulator that respects the laws of Nigeria felt that it is not appropriate for anything to happen. Now, this is a matter of the company. I have my own personal views. I will keep that to myself. But in terms of what we wanted to do for Sunu as shareholders is that whatever the requirements in terms of the capital requirements by our regulators, we are determined to meet them. We can come to you, our shareholders, to meet those obligations or requirements. And in cases where people are exhausted or tired or whatever, and they would not be willing to take up their shares, we may also have the opportunity of looking for strategic investors to come in. But clearly, as Madame had highlighted, and as you have seen in the books of the company, many of the albatross, I think Mr. Howell mentioned that we may have just 6 players on the field. Many of the items that we have and that have been dragging us down have been what I normally would call legacy issues. And therefore, it seems that as management, we cannot sit down and complain or cry like babies. We just have to tackle them. And in so doing, the results are beginning to show. Clearly, one of them is that I call it the obnoxious penalty of $1.4 million. It was something that happened, I believe, in 2013 or 14, and the new owners or the new large shareholder that came into the company discovered quite late in the transaction that there is that penalty. And we had to actually not only go to the regulator, but even to entities above the regulator to convince them that that penalty should have been waived. And amongst those top entities, to the extent that we were even saying, how can we attract foreign investors as a country if something like this were to be in the books? But it was hidden, and we haven't received anything until much later, a few years down the road. And by the way, the initial penalty that NICOM sent to us wasn't 1.4, it was 7-point-something million dollars. And clearly, as some of the shareholders have expressed, we expressed in similar tone that it would actually end up not only killing the company, but throwing quite a number of employees out on the streets. And at that time, and by the way, in the recent past, at any time in Nigeria, you wouldn't want to throw over 200 individuals out without jobs. So it was quite a fiat of negotiation to even bring it down to that. Now, I hope that that element can be addressed. It had to do with airline aviation coverage, and it turns out that if there is a penalty, the penalty is going to be about 5 times the cover So, and it's dollar basis. So that's how that arithmetic ended up being where it was. One can continue arguing, but we realize that company is a continuous thing. The one thing I learned in business school is that, you would hear a lot of objectives and goals of business. But one of my wisest business class professors told me that the objective of a business is to remain in business. And with that mindset, we said, okay, we are going to pay, but we cannot pay all of it in 1 year. If they give us installmental payments, we would meet that obligation. And by the way, the last payment was made this year. So for my shareholders, I will tell you that albatross is off our necks. Same thing with Daiwo loans. It was taken in, or that bond, or whatever it is called. And the word bond is an English word. It basically stands for what it is. It's a bondage. Puts you in bondage. And that too, after making about 5 million or so in payments, we woke up to realize that because of the lack of servicing of that bond, we had some penalties compounded, and it ended up being about 11 million or so. Final payments were made by our major shareholder, and it was I believe it was around 7.8 million, if I am not wrong, as full and final payments for that 11 million outstanding. It was quite a drag. It took us close to 8 or 9 months to finish negotiating and making the payments. Of course, I thank our major shareholder, Sunu Participation and Sunu Cote d'Ivoire, in making that obligation. Of course, it changed many things for the future of this company. I can see that even a year ago, our shareholders' funds was negative. Even a year ago. And that is basically, to me, it's quite encouraging as a shareholder. It has taken so long, I know, but once the right corporate governance is in place, the right investors have come along, the right business opportunities are there, we are having good relationship with our regulators, I think things will just work out. The rest is to encourage our staff and even our shareholders in getting us more and more business so that we will be among the top 5 or so non-life businesses in this country, which is basically our aspirations. So that should address the recapitalization efforts. Oh, by the way, so that should handle the recap as well as the penalties. The Ijebu Hotel, by the way, is a concession. It's a 25-year concession. I think we went into that 2009. So again, it's something that was inherited, but it has been on. It's been struggling, but we have actually turned the corner on Ijebu, just like the parent company itself, because I don't know which one. Huh? It's not. Okay. So I just want to make sure that I'm in full compliance, especially with my regulator sitting close by to me, because I understand that our Q2 numbers have gone out, and if you look at the top line, you would say that we've done quite well compared to last year's Q2 numbers, and as of that Q2 numbers for Ijebu property, it had made a profit of 7.5, even though we were the bottom line was bad, and it's as a result of MSAS claims, which we have paid already. So essentially, we believe that this is a forward-looking statement. We see a brighter future for the Ijebuode property. We've hired a new general manager. He has started renovating, and the renovation is coming from internally generated funds. So it's by floor, and things are looking up for us. I think the year for that property is going to be quite good. And the same with the other subsidiary, the healthcare, Sunu Healthcare as well. But I would also say the same thing about what Madam has said about the asset management company. When I came on board, I felt like closing it, but it's serving some purpose. The income is so low compared to the capital that had been tied, and it's always good to look for means of increasing the income. And because of that, we also have mentioned, and that's why I said it's as if some of you are eavesdropping on the board meeting. I have raised the issue of our investment policy needs to be revamped in such a manner that the returns on the investment outlay are better than where we are now, which is mostly in government securities and placements with banks. When government securities goes down, placements to banks also go down. It's a positive correlation between the two. When that yield goes down, the other yield also goes down, because the banks want to make profit. They can take the money from you and buy the government treasuries, so they are not going to give you an offer that is going to be commensurate with that. If you see a bank offering you better than T-bills, then you should run away from that bank. Something is happening, So my own take is that we can do better, and I have actually, stressed on management to ensure that that happens. Sometimes with asset management, the crop of people you need to run it as efficiently as that particular bank. I think I know the bank you're talking about, madam. To pay them is also another milestone. And if you don't have much money, you might as well look for professional managers that you hand your money to. And being a risk averse entity, we need to look at it very critically before we hand them our monies, which belongs to the shareholders. We also had on the DCSL improvement area, we actually discovered, it was only after DCL's evaluation that we discovered that 2 of our directors had outstayed their tenure. And immediately we got that, we discussed it at the previous board meeting, and both have resigned, which will be covered under the proceedings as we go on today. The control processes was also needed to be strengthened, which actually we have been doing since Sunu came into the company. Our control processes have improved tremendously, but they still see areas of improvement. And those are some of the few improvements as specified by in the questions asked. Our relationship with Ogun State government. By the way, Ogun State government today. Hello? Yeah. Ogun State government today is the second largest shareholder of Sunu Assurances PLC, next to our majority shareholder. I think they are represented. They're not quite, the relationship is not quite as I would expect it to be, but since we have made that known to them at the last AGM, we've been having constant meetings. In fact, in the last 12 months, since our last board meeting, we have had at least 4 to 6 meetings between us and Gateway Holdings, which is the investment arm of Ogun State government. And soon there will be some announcements regarding that. Not only are we trying to fix the matter related to the resort, which, by the way, we were not we were not paying the royalties, but the last payment for the outstanding royalties was done last month, and therefore we are free and clear with Ogun State and in terms of any outstanding payments. But because it's a concession, we want to run it in a very professional manner so that it will generate positive income for us, and we have started to see the benefits of that. It was all lack of proper management, and it boils down to still corporate governance, as you begin to hear me going back to governance all the time. So we believe that our relationship has at least warmed up a bit, and we will continue to do so. Adverts, yes. I'm also one of those people that believe in the presence of mind share, of the perception of people and potential customers, existing customers, and so on and so forth. So we are going to address that. I have brought it to the attention of management, and many people, including some of our clients, have said similar things to what one of the shareholders expressed. I think those are some of the questions. I know that there was one particular one that had to do with receivables. I will allow the MD to address that, but I think it is also something that can be expected of an insurance company. Because if you see the larger chunk, the 300 and the other receivables, is from the subsidiaries, from the 2 subsidiaries. Meanwhile, the remaining 17 million is in what you might call the balance as at the time of completing filing the annual accounts. So, is there anything that you would want to add to MD?
I want to thank the chairman. He has covered everything.
Who will use salary again?
I want my shareholders to increase my salary. He has covered everything, and I'm happy he has done that on behalf of the company. All I need to say is that we've taken note of the area that require improvement, and I've now told my honorable shareholders that the question is to us: do we have the capacity to address those issues? I will say yes. Overwhelming capacity to address those issues. And by the time we meet here next year to review our books, I can confidently tell you that you will see a very good result, and that all these issues you raised will have addressed them. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. In the absence of, oh, the auditor. Yes, please.
Still good morning, everyone. It's standing on the last protocol that I have left. On page 54, one of the shareholders asked a question concerning the fines. Please, what is on page 54 is only for the year. If you look at what we have remarked, we said there were no penalties for the year. Not that the company does not have any outstanding penalty which it is still paying. Please, that correction should be taken.
Yes.
Then the other one that I would also want to remark is that the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 came into effect 1st of January 2021. Right. The law did not say it should be retrospective. So, if you look at the financial statements, we signed it on the 23rd of March, which was early in the year. Supposing it was to be done now, maybe some school would have said, let's cite 2020 law. But if you look at it, we did it wisely, because if you look at it, we said as amended. So that takes care of everything, please, my dear shoulders. That takes care of everything concerning the law. And then the financial statements also, our opinion on it, if we had said we should consider 2021 law, there are certain things in the new law which the company is yet to comply as at 2020. So you would have been lying that the financial statements comply with the law. So it was said to say 2004 being, the extant law as at the period which we are reporting, which is 2020, because the new law only came into effect 2021. Thank you so much, sir. And then
thank you
for our mommy. The trade receivables also, the NICOM permits that there are some by real practice, some money that brokers would have been holding on your behalf. Because of this reason, I want to just cut it very short. NICOM recognizes that the fact that those brokers might take up to a month before they bring it to you, and so they gave a 1 month. So that value which is there constitutes what we have even certified as to the amount and the people that are involved, those that hold the contracts that are involved, and then send down to NICOM. Else, the financial statements would not have been approved by NICOM. I just want to make this clarification. And then, mommy, what you saw there is not really stationary, it is statutory, please. The statutory expenses which you said in the COVID time, the expenses shouldn't be, the stationary expenses shouldn't be going up. It's not stationary, but statutory. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Auditor. Thank you for even clarifying that bit, because I made a mental note, but I forgot to mention it to Madam that it is 0 to 30 days on that receivable. So it's something that was on its way, but at the time of filing, it wasn't there, so you have to still capture it. Thank you for clarification, Mr. Auditor. In the absence of any other questions or comments, we'll move on.
Mr. Chairman, can I just make
yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Complete something which I think that I think it's in the chairman's statement.
Right.
I think there is a clause there which I think shouldn't be there. It's on page 13, the last paragraph, where it says the recapitalization exercise was suspended by the court during the year, pending And it says, this notwithstanding, the company proceeded with its recapitalization plan. I think it should not be, there should not be anything in the report that shows that the company is going against the law.
Yes, good to point that out. I think what it was probably couched horribly here, but in our course of discussion, we said that we will continue to make sure that the capital, the necessary capital to do business is ensured that it is there. And the minimum requirement so far, without the discussion about the court case, is the 5 billion and we have met that threshold as of end of the year, even though we had to scramble to do that because of the dilute debt to equity conversion. And that's basically probably what the essence of that is. We cannot be seen to be even one bit going against either what our regulators have espoused or what the courts have decided to do or not to. So thank you for pointing that out, Madam. If there are no other comments, I will go on. Agenda number 1. As copies of the report and accounts have already been circulated, I formally lay before the meeting the audited. Oh, sorry, we finished the questions and answers, right? So that's the approval. I hereby move that the audited consolidated financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2020, together with the reports of the directors, external auditors, and the audit committee, which have already been circulated, be and are hereby adopted. Will a shareholder please rise and second the resolution? Yes. Will those in favor of this resolution please signify by raising their right hands?
Sorry.
Yes.
The approval that you have is that the items must all be by proxy. Sorry, by poll.
Oh, it's going to be by
Other than the audit committee.
Okay. So what I would like to say is that for this resolution, the registrars have received a total number of 159 proxy instructions representing 88.67% shareholding who voted in favor of this resolution. I think that's it. So, yes.
You will not be registered if you did the registrar job. Let the registrar do their own.
Oh, this is what Crescent should have done.
Let the registrar do their work.
So what I will do is that for the next resolution, I will have to call the registrars to do their jobs. And then I will get my commission. Item number 2. Re-election of retiring directors. I now call the company secretary to read the names of retiring directors and if they have indicated interests in being re-elected.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The retiring directors are Mr. Olariwaju Ugubanjo, Mr. Ibekule Balogun, and Mr. Philip Aibo. In accordance with the provisions of the NICOM Corporate Governance Guidelines 2021 and under Article 92 of the Company's Memorandum and Articles of Association, Mr. Olariwaju Ugubanjo and Mr. Ibekule Balogun, shortly before this meeting, having completed their tenure as non-executive directors, are not seeking re-election into the Board of Directors. They have given notice of their resignation as directors. So we have Mr. Philip Aibo, who has indicated his willingness to continue in office in accordance with Section 2852 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020.
In accordance with the provisions of the NICOM Corporate Governance Guidelines 2021 and under Article 93 of the Companies Articles and Association, Mr. Olariwaju Ugubanjo and Mr. Ibekule Balogun, having completed their tenure as directors, are not seeking re-election and have given notice of their resignations as directors prior to this annual general meeting. I now call on a shareholder to propose the resolution that Mr. Philip Aibo, having indicated his willingness to continue in office in accordance with Section 285, subsection 2 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 11/2020, be and is hereby re-elected as non-executive director of the company.
Mr. Chairman, point of
By the way, Madam, I think I need to answer the question you asked. I don't know whether I'm going out of order or not, but I just felt it when I was reading it that I realized I had not responded to that particular question. By the way, Mr. Philip Aibo is an executive with Coca-Cola. and he is a non-executive director appointed by Sunu Group to the board of Sunu Assurances Nigeria. Thank you. So is this also done by resolution? Okay. So I will call on the registrars to announce the result of the proxy. Thank you.
The results, proxies, and the shareholders in attendance comes to 5,155,083,591 units, which is 100%. No against and no abstentions. Thank you.
Thank you, Crescent. The resolution, I declare the resolution carried unanimously. Agenda number 3, to approve the appointment of SIAO partners as the external auditors of the company. The next item on the agenda is to approve the appointment of SIAO partners as the external auditors of the company in line with the provision of section 401 subsection 1 LFN 2020. In light of this development, I hereby move that the firm of SIAO Partners Chartered Accountants be and is hereby appointed the external auditors of the company for 2021 financial year. Will a shareholder please rise and second the resolution? Thank you, ma'am. Name?
My name is Mrs. Sunu.
Thank you, ma'am. I will call on Crescent registrars to announce the results of the resolution.
The results of the resolution still remains 5,155,083,591 units for the resolution, representing 100%, none against and none abstentions. Thank you.
I declare the resolution carried unanimously. Agenda number 4, to authorize directors to fix the remuneration of the external auditors. Item 4 on the agenda is to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the external auditors who would act as auditors and financial advisors for the year 2021. Under section 4081B of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, LFN 2020, the Act requires that the remuneration of external auditors shall be fixed by the company at a general meeting or in such manner as the company in a general meeting may determine. I hereby move that the directors be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration of the external auditors for the year ending 31st December 2021. Will a shareholder please rise and second the resolution?
Rise to second the motion. You can.
Thank you. Crescent registrars. Sorry. Yes.
No, members of the audit committee that's recommended you should not be moving on. That will be conflict of interest.
Right. Yeah. So none of the members of the audit committee can move a resolution support since it is their thing. Let another shareholder then move it. Thank you, ma'am. Crescent registrars.
Part of order, sir. The item number 2, sir.
Yes.
I don't think somebody seconded it.
Item number 2.
Yes, because by the people that
I need, for the record, I need somebody to second. Yes, I understand. Yes, ma'am. Yes, madam.
And they should not take from our
Yes, yes, ma'am. Since I joined the board, I have been saying that I don't want to see any penalties from any of my regulators. So I will make suggestion that if I am allowed, you would have seconded agenda number 2.
Let's do it.
So for the record, Madam had seconded agenda number 2. Thank you. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
For this resolution, total shares voted for 5,155,083,591 units, representing 100%. And there was none against and none abstentions. Thank you.
Thank you. I declare the resolution carried unanimously. The Secretary confirmed the receipt of nominations from some shareholders for election and re-election to the Audit Committee. I hereby present the nominated persons for election or re-election of 3 of them into the Audit Committee. So far, it's those 3, right?
Yes.
Same number, same unit. Number 1, Mr. Samuel Adekunle Adedoyin. His Royal Highness Oba Ajadi Yekini Olariwaju, Mr. Oluyinka Oniwinde, the company's registrars. Thank you. So, since there are only 3 nominations we've received, there will not be any requirements for election, I would imagine. This looks like a unanimous second term for our shareholders' representatives. Congratulations. Thereby, I declare that 1, Mr. Samuel Adekunle Adedoyin, His Royal Highness Oba Ajadi Yekini Olariwaju, Mr. Oluyinka Oniwinde. Number 4, Mr. Mohammed Ba. Number 5, Ms. Taizia Ajala. The last 2 are representing the Board of Directors of the Audit Committee, have been duly elected and representing as the shareholders' representatives and the Board of Directors or company representatives on the Audit Committee for the financial year 2021. Agenda number 6. In line with Section 257, Karma LFN 2020, the compensation of managers of a company shall be disclosed to members of the company at the annual general meeting. This information is provided in page 45 of the 2020 annual report and accounts. Ladies and gentlemen, this item of business does not require a vote. It's a disclosure requirement. Special business. That takes us to another item on the agenda, which is a special business that would be passed as ordinary resolution. Agenda 7, to approve the remuneration of directors. In line with Section 293, 1 Karma LFN 2020, your company is required by law to seek the approval of the annual fees payable to directors for 2021 financial year. Shareholders would therefore be requested to fix the remuneration of directors at 34,550,000 naira for 2021 financial year, comprising of sitting allowance and annual fees, travel and domestic allowance. I hereby move that the director's remuneration be and is hereby fixed at 34.55 million for 2021 financial year, comprising of sitting allowance, annual fees, travel allowance, and domestic allowance. Will a shareholder please rise and second the resolution?
Observation, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for permitting me. But I think there is something that, despite our size in the industry, to begin to ask questions about and how we can address them.
Yes.
This is the end of the month of July. We are proving payments that have been made as far back as January. I'm just wondering, yes, I know that this is what the law says, but I think that going forward, it may become necessary that approval, date of kickoff should be at the point in which approval is been given. This is particularly so where there are proposed increases. So I would want you to just address that, oh, there are no increase in what we are doing, but it is something that as a country we must begin to address because there is a lot to know. If it's first quarter, I can understand it, but when you are into the third quarter of the year and you are doing approval for that year, you also have its own challenge.
All right. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for the seconding of the resolution. But again, just to clarify, this number is exactly the same, so there is no increase.
So that's why I wanted you to see.
Yes. So
I
just want to mention that also. But at the same time, it's one of those nuances of corporate governance that need to be resolved, even if it means that if there were an increase, maybe the increase should be put in such a manner that it's subject to the ratification of shareholders or something like that. As a student of corporate governance, I still strongly believe that it is the companies belongs to the shareholders, and therefore their concurrence in anything like those need to be, couched in such a manner that it is put into consideration. But then, some of the lawyers, my learned friends, say the law is an ass, so I don't know what they're doing. I hereby move that the director's remuneration be and is hereby fixed. So the shareholder has seconded and reason to second, right? So I will call on Crescent registrars to declare the results.
The total votes cast representing 100% is 5,553,591 units. 100%. There's none against and none abstaining from it.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as there is no other business, it is my pleasure to declare this meeting closed. Thank you very much. Can somebody offer a closing prayer? Alaji, His Royal Highness, please offer the closing prayer.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I would like to recite the cause of protection for everybody in Arabic. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allah la ilaha illa huwa al-qayyum. La ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm lahu ma fis samawati wa ma fil ardi. وظن الذي يتبع عنده إلى به دينه يعلم ما بين أيديه ومن خلفه لا يأتون بشيء به إلا بمن شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض فلا يئوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. May God protect each and every one of us.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. So can we stand for the national anthem?